Picture this. It's Sunday night, the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. 40,000 watts of stage lighting, the biggest names in country music squeezed into one room, and right at 8 p.m. Eastern, out walks a 60-year-old Canadian icon in a silver strapless gown and full auburn locks that the internet absolutely lost its mind over. And she says, "Exactly 30 years ago, I stood on this stage for the very first time." And the crowd goes completely, utterly sideways. That woman is Shania Twain. And the night she just hosted? The 61st Academy of Country Music Awards, an evening where a rising star swept every single trophy she was nominated for. A Texas cowboy took the top prize in a moment nobody predicted, and country music served notice that it is done playing small. You're listening to Fast Track. I'm Michael, and today we are deep in the rhinestones, the red carpet drama, and the results nobody saw coming from last night's ACM Awards. With me to break all of it down is entertainment industry analyst and cultural critic Linda Osei. Linda, welcome back.
Michael, I have been waiting for this episode since about 10:30 last night. Let's go.
For anyone tuning in who's more of a pop or hip-hop listener, which, let's be honest, is probably a good chunk of our audience, set the scene. What exactly are the ACM Awards, and why does last night deserve a full episode?
Right. So the Academy of Country Music Awards is literally the longest-running country music award show in history. The organization was founded back in 1964 in Los Angeles, of all places, to promote country music on the West Coast. The first award ceremony was 2 years later in 1966. So when they say it's the 61st edition, that's not marketing fluff. That's 6 decades of history. This is country music's crown jewel.
And last night, the whole thing streamed live on Prime Video, Amazon Music, and Twitch. Free, no Prime membership required, in more than 240 countries and territories. So this wasn't just a Nashville and Vegas audience. This was a global broadcast.
Which matters a lot, because it means the artists who won last night weren't just winning in front of their core fan base. They were winning in front of the entire world. And that's a very different kind of validation.
The show returned to Vegas this year, the MGM Grand Garden Arena, after 3 years in Frisco, Texas. And from everything I watched and read, it felt like Vegas brought the energy back. 17 performances in 2.5 hours. That is aggressive. That is a show that does not want dead air.
The producers were very intentional about that. They told Variety before the show that the return to Vegas was about embracing a certain kind of spectacle, the country casino crossover energy that Vegas has always represented. And when you have Shania Twain hosting, who literally has had a Las Vegas residency and loves that city deeply, it just clicked.
Okay, let's talk about the only story that really matters from last night. Ella Langley. 7 nominations, 7 wins. Linda, explain what just happened.
What happened is that a 20-something girl from Alabama who just released her second major label album walked into the MGM Grand Garden Arena last night and cleaned out the house. She won Song of the Year, Single of the Year, both for Choosing Texas, Female Artist of the Year, Artist Songwriter of the Year, and Music Event of the Year alongside Riley Green. 7 trophies in 5 categories on a night where she was up against Miranda Lambert, Lainey Wilson, Megan Moroney, and Kelsey Ballerini. Those are not easy rooms to win in.
And Choosing Texas itself, let's put that song in context because I want people to understand the scale of what that track has done.
That song has broken streaming and chart records previously set by Taylor Swift. Let that sentence sit for a moment. In country music in 2026, an emerging artist's song outperformed benchmarks set by one of the biggest artists of all time. That's not hyperbole, that's the chart data. And at the ACMs last night, she opened the show winning Song of the Year, presented by Michael Bublé of all people, and then came back less than an hour later to win Single of the Year for the same song.
And the way she accepted that second award, she looked at the mic, then looked at Miranda Lambert in the crowd, and basically said, "I already spoke. Miranda, come up here and say things."
Which is such a great detail because Miranda Lambert co-wrote that song and co-produced Langley's entire sophomore album, Dandelion. And Lambert walks up there, and this is a woman with 20 ACM awards to her name, the most decorated artist in this show's history. And she says, and I keep coming back to this line, "I'm just so thankful that Ella trusted me with her art."
Miranda Lambert, 20 ACMs, saying she is grateful that a rising 20-something trusted her.
That is what a generational handoff sounds like. That's country music doing something it has historically struggled with, genuinely lifting the next voice without diminishing the legend in the process.
The other moment I keep seeing replayed everywhere, when Ella won Female Artist of the Year, she said Lainey Wilson, the reigning two-time Entertainer of the Year, also nominated in this category, came to her room backstage and wrapped her up and prayed for her. And then Miranda showed up in her pink hat. These women are actively in community with each other, and that shows on that stage.
It shows in the music, too. Choosing Texas doesn't exist without that community. It's literally a song co-written by women about a complicated human experience, produced by a country legend and performed by a 20-something who had the confidence to let all of that breathe.
One more thing on Ella. Her album Dandelion missed the eligibility deadline for Album of the Year this cycle, which means she walks into the 2027 ACMs as the frontrunner for that prize. She is already planning for the future from a position of total dominance, and she's about to go on her first arena tour.
The trajectory is historic. Last year, she won New Female Artist. This year, she won everything else. If she wins Entertainer of the Year in 2027, she has pulled off the ACM version of the Triple Crown.
Let's talk about the moments that surprised people, because Ella sweeping was not the only story. Cody Johnson won Entertainer of the Year, which, Linda, was not the consensus pick going in.
Not even close. Megan Moroney led all nominees with 9 nominations. Lainey Wilson had won it 2 years in a row. Morgan Wallen was in the field. Jelly Roll was in the field. Cody Johnson had 4 nominations total heading into the night, and he walked out with the top prize.
And then, in his acceptance speech, he dedicated the award to Luke Combs.
Which nobody saw coming. He said no one would expect him to do that, but Combs had shown real strength during a tour stop in Australia, and Johnson wanted to honor that. It was completely unscripted feeling. It was the kind of moment that makes people actually sit up and watch an award show instead of having it on in the background.
Meanwhile, Megan Moroney, 9 nominations, 0 wins, and she wasn't even there.
She posted on Instagram that she was out of the country, serving as maid of honor at her best friend's wedding. She wrote, "I'm so honored to be nominated tonight. I'm rooting on all my friends from afar." Which is, honestly, that's a power move, whether she intended it to be or not. 9 nominations, couldn't even be bothered to show up, still has the goodwill of the entire industry.
The internet went back and forth on that. Some people thought it was the most wholesome thing ever. Others were like, 9 nominations and you're missing the show?
I think it just speaks to where Moroney is in her career. She's secure enough to know this isn't the last time she'll be nominated. She'll be back. And her best friend's wedding only happens once.
Now, Shania Twain, we have to talk about the hosting, because the reaction was genuinely split.
Very split. And look, the outfits? Universally praised. She did multiple wardrobe changes throughout the night. A silver strapless gown for the red carpet, a golden off-the-shoulder gown, a nude mesh floral dress, a chocolate brown see-through look. Women on X were writing things like, "Queen Shania, breathtaking beauty." No argument there.
But the hosting itself got rough reviews from some corners. One viewer wrote on X, "Shania Twain is such a dry, almost boring host. Great musician, though." And that sentiment was repeated a lot.
Here's the context that's important. This was Shania's first major televised hosting gig outside of the People's Choice Country Awards. Reba McEntire, who hosted the last 2 years, is arguably one of the greatest natural hosts in country music history. Those are genuinely hard shoes to fill. What Shania brought was warmth, star power, and the kind of credibility that makes artists in the room take the proceedings seriously.
She opened by talking about winning her first ACM award 30 years ago. She said she started singing in bars when she was 8 years old and didn't have her first top hit until she was 30. That is a meaningful thing to say at an awards show where rising artists are in the room wondering if they'll ever break through.
And she had genuine fun moments. She and Shabuzi basically shut down a commercial break with how much they were talking and laughing. She co-led the audience in a birthday message to Willie Nelson, who just turned 93. Those are the moments where you feel the humanity. The scripted transitions were rougher, but overall, first hosting gig for country's biggest global stage, she delivered.
17 performances. That is a lot of country music in one evening. Walk me through the ones that hit.
Lainey Wilson opened the show, which, as the two-time reigning Entertainer of the Year, is her rightful place, with Can't Sit Still. 10 dancers in all white and cowboy hats behind her, and she was 7 days married. She brought her husband, former NFL player Devlin Duck Hodges, to the show, and the internet completely lost it over that detail.
Miranda Lambert performed Crisco, and she did it under a rhinestone disco saddle suspended from the ceiling. Like, country music occasionally reminds you it will not be contained, and that was one of those moments.
Casey Musgraves performed Dry Spell from her new album Middle of Nowhere. She opened her set sitting on a washing machine, moved to a Country Mart set, grabbed some sausages, pushed a grocery cart, and sang through all of it with ad-libs like, "It's hard out there, y'all." That is an artist fully committed to a creative vision.
Ella Langley performed a stripped-back acoustic version of Be Her in an ethereal white gown. After winning 4 trophies already, she sat down with a guitar and reminded everybody she doesn't need production to hold a room.
And Blake Shelton closed the night, which is its own statement, bringing back a Vegas institution, a former voice coach, a man who is synonymous with a certain era of country music dominance to close out the evening. The show knew exactly what it was doing.
There's also the Morgan Wallen angle that kept coming up. He was nominated for Entertainer of the Year and Album of the Year. He didn't win anything, and notably, he wasn't in the Male Artist of the Year category at all, which a lot of fans found surprising. He didn't perform either.
Country music's relationship with Wallen is complicated and ongoing. His numbers are undeniable. Brooks and Dunn dropped in their speech that they just played Vegas with him to 80,000 people. But the ACM voters appear to be drawing some distinctions. That's a bigger conversation, but it was a quiet subplot all night.
All right, let's land this. Here's what went down at the 61st Academy of Country Music Awards on Sunday, May 17th, 2026, at the MGM Grand Garden Arena in Las Vegas. Shania Twain hosted for the first time ever in a series of stunning looks, with mixed reviews on the hosting itself. Ella Langley went 7 for 7 and is now the undisputed center of gravity in modern country music. Cody Johnson took Entertainer of the Year in a surprise that gave the night its most genuine emotional moment. Megan Maroney had 9 nominations and won 0, while being the maid of honor at her best friend's wedding in another country. Brooks and Dunn won their 18th Duo of the Year, and the whole thing streamed free on Prime Video to 240 countries, because country music in 2026 is not interested in staying in one lane. If you haven't listened to Choosin' Texas yet, why not? Go do that right now and then come back and tell us we were wrong about anything from this episode. We'll wait. If this episode hit, share it. Send it to your one friend who swears they don't listen to country music, but somehow knows every Lainey Wilson lyric. And subscribe to Fast Track wherever you get your podcasts. Linda, final word. What is your one big take from last night?
My take is this. Ella Langley didn't win 7 awards because she got lucky or because the voters felt generous. She won because she made a song that broke Taylor Swift's records, co-wrote it with a legend, trusted that legend with her entire album, and then stood on that stage with the kind of grace that makes you want to root for someone forever. Country music hasn't had a story this clean and this earned in a long time. And the best part? She's just getting started.
Fast Track. We'll see you next time.